Well, good morning, good evening, or afternoon, depending on what part of the globe you're on and what time zone you are in. I am your host, Brian G. This is the Biblical History Skeptics podcast, coming at you live in living color. I have no idea if this is even happening today. My computer is literally fritzing out. As you can see, my green screen doesn't want to work. I like to have visual backgrounds, but nothing's working today. So I couldn't even get anything to load. Couldn't get YouTube to load. Couldn't get StreamYards. Couldn't get anything to load. So this is going to be a very, very boring show. I'm sorry to say. I'd love to have music and everything, but I can't even ensure that that's going to play just right. Let's see if I can get some music in here. See if that even works. But yeah, it's just this internet connection is so very slow and so bad. This is the best AT&T can offer me right now. So anyway, I just had some thoughts on Easter Sunday. Just what a very, very violent story it is. It's amazing we hear from the pulpit how bad Hollywood is, how bad, video games are, and how they're going to ruin children's minds. They're just yay, finally got some music. But we're told how bad the Hollywood video games, graphic novels, and how it's going to warp a person's mind feeding on that. But then we take them, these same kids, we take them to church and we tell them, here's why we celebrate Easter. I mean, I've even gone to plays where the crucifixion scenes were reenacted. It's quite sad. It really is. It really is what we think are good stories. It's really not. I mean, imagine a crucifixion needing to happen to save somebody, to bring somebody redemption. What a terrible method to do that. Especially if it's dictated and orchestrated by a God who holds all the cards. He holds all the cards, has all the power, and this is the best idea he can come up with. Sending himself in a form of a human being to just be mangled and slaughtered on a crucifix, on a cross. It's pretty sad. That is the best idea you could come up with. It's a terrible idea. Because what does it say about the God who demands this type of redemption? What does it really say? I don't know. It's just barbaric when you think about it. And this is what we teach little kids. This is what we teach them. And we're okay with that. We seem to be okay with that. I don't know. What are your thoughts? Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, my computer is on the fritz. I'm not going to have a normal show. But it's like I have no access to green screen or anything, even though I've got one. Ugh. but here we are. So I'm just glad to be out of that mess. And what's interesting, I've been on TikTok for a little while, for the last couple of weeks, and I've been seeing other videos posted of ex-evangelicals, Christian Baptists, what have you. And it's quite interesting how there's quite a lot of overlap within the fundamentalist Christian nationalist community. Whether it be strict Pentecostal, Baptist, Southern Baptist, Jehovah's Witness, some of the experiences are quite similar. Mormon, yeah, that too. But it's just, I don't know. Whatever your thoughts are, let me know. Yeah, YouTube is like, it's completely, totally crashed. Goodness. I wanted to play a video of Rabbi Tovia Singer. You know what? I might as well just get to that. Why not? Might as well. Get me off of this green screen. Let's go ahead and share screen. Let's see if anything plays. Now, as far as Easter Sunday being a pagan holiday or a Jewish, kind of a quasi-Jewish influenced holiday, it's still being debated, but I'm still leaning toward pagan traditions.
I'm telling you, I'm not a fan of Roman Catholicism. The Pope does not call me for advice. Does people think he does? He doesn't. It's baloney.
Are we live on the air? Good morning. Thank you for having my call. Sure. I'm Andy, Los Angeles, California. Welcome back, Andy. Thank you. And my question is for Rabbi Tovia Singer. Easter Sunday, or some Christians like to call it Resurrection Sunday, and where all this origin comes from, because I know today's Christians celebrate Easter, and then on the 22nd on April it's Passover. So I'm getting confused. I left the Christian church like 4 years ago, and I'm just trying to get everything right and go on my straight path.
Is a fairly early Christian holiday, unlike Christmas. They didn't invent Christmas until the 4th century, at the end of Constantine's life in 336. So that's when Christmas developed. But Easter goes way back. Now, there are different theories about its connection to Ishtar, which is a pagan god, and that's where the name comes from. Scholars have different views of precisely the origins of this word. Does it have Germanic origins? What I think people get very consumed with is like, what's the origin of the name, rather than there's an elephant in the room. The elephant in the room is that the Messiah is not supposed to die and then rise. So I often hear that people are going, what is the origins of Easter? So it is consistent with pagan names. But in truth, in many cultures, it's not even called Easter, it's called Pascha, which is after the name Passover. Because according to John, only John, Jesus was crucified on the 14th day of Nisan, the eve of Passover. Because John wanted Jesus to be crucified in the days that the Passover lamb was crucified, because only John of the 4 Gospels identifies Jesus with the lamb. See John 1:29, see John 1:36. And this was actually a very big tumultuous issue in the early church of when should Easter be celebrated, on the 14th day of Nisan, the 15th day of Nisan. But I think people get very distracted by this and ignore the obvious, and that is the idea that the Mashiach is supposed to die for your sins and then rise on the 3rd day. And if you believe in him, you're saved. So that idea is completely alien to the Torah. The Torah says an innocent person can't die for the sins of the wicked. You see how we can get distracted by these issues and ignore the most important issue. Now, the Easter is very striking because it is this earlier. This is an earlier Christian holiday. It really, certainly at the very, very beginning of the 2nd century, and very likely in the 1st century, Christians on Pesach, on when the Jews said it was Passover, would celebrate Easter. It means they would celebrate what they would consider as the resurrection day. That's definitely the case. And the only issue became, it's very strange in the churches, that when should they celebrate this Easter, marking the day when they say Jesus rose from the dead? So they would have to go to the Jews, because they needed to know when Passover was. Now you're probably wondering, why do you need a Jews for that? Why can't they look it up on the calendar? And I think as I say that, you go, oh, there wasn't that kind of calendar. The Jews had a way of determining based on a certain calculation, which I'm not going to go into now, but because of the oral Torah, we know that the average length of a lunar month, in decimals is 29.53059. It's the most precise calendar in the world. It's a halacha l'moshe Sinai. Our tradition goes back to Moses, and this allows us to have a very precise calendar, the most precise. The non-Jews have to adjust their calendar by a second here, a second there. We don't have to do any of that. What we have is from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You may be asking yourself, what do I need? Any of this?
Let me double back a little bit. It's just, internet is just terrible.
What we have is from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You may be asking yourself, what do I need any of this? It's the first month, 15th day. So all you do is count 12 months, and there you go. And then you're back to Passover. It's not so simple, because of Deuteronomy chapter 16, verse 1. Passover must come out in the springtime. So as it turns out, the lunar months do not cooperate with the seasons. 12 lunar months. So there has to be an intercalation, which occurred this year, where an extra month has to be added. It's very complicated. But the point is, the Christians had to rely on the Jews. They had to rely on the Jews. And this was a hot issue. This Easter business was a big hot issue. And they were, instead of these early Christians fighting over should we believe in Jesus or not believe in Jesus, that didn't occur to them. This was the hot topic. When do we follow John, who places the crucifixion date on the 14th day of Nisan, or according to Matthew, Mark, Luke, the Synoptic Gospels, Jesus crucified on the first day of Pesach? It's a big difference. It's a big difference. Was he? It means, because that's the question. Is, for example, the Last Supper, was the Last Supper a Passover Seder, right? And I bet you all going, of course it was a Passover Seder. Not according to John. That's the Synoptic Gospels. That's why the Eucharist in the Synoptic Gospels is a Passover Seder, but in John it's not. In John, it's not. In Matthew, Mark, and Luke, the Last Supper is a Passover Seder, and that's where you find the Eucharist. But John, as I told you, Jesus is crucified a day early because John wants to connect the Jesus with the Lamb. Matthew, Mark, and Luke they don't know anything about this. So where is John's Eucharist? It's not where you would expect it in John 13, where the Last Supper is. Because the Last Supper in John 13 is not a Passover Seder. What's happening in the Last Supper in John? Is Jesus washing the feet of the disciples, which doesn't happen in the Synoptic Gospels. So in John 6, you have the Eucharist. Let me tell you something. Christians nearly killed each other over this. To you, this may seem pedantic. It wasn't at all to the early church fathers. Wow, they would. In fact, across the board, they all admitted that the church could explode over the issue of what to celebrate Easter. And then there were loud voices in Rome and other parts, like, why are we relying on Jews? Like, Jews? We should go to the cursed Jews who killed our Lord, and they should determine for us when we should celebrate Easter? I'm not kidding. This was such a battle, and this battle made itself to the Council of Nicaea. Most people think of the Council of Nicaea as an event, an ecumenical council convened by Constantine in order to determine the nature of the deity of Jesus. That's true. But there were two issues on the table that had to be resolved. The calendar and Easter had to be resolved as well. He wanted that resolved. And Constantine was no friend of the Jews. And he could not stand it that there were Christians in the empire that celebrate Easter when the Jews said it was Pesach. And this issue was huge. Forget about 1415. It was huge if you follow the Jews. And what was resolved from Nicaea was that we're not going to go to the Jews anymore. And they had a different calculation. They used a different guy. The church argued over it too. The East and the West does as well. It's not like they all worked everything out. But the calculation had to be a lunar solar calculation, but it's not of the Jews. It'd be springtime, but they did not based on Passover. Now they can overlap. They would never this year, but there are times that they can overlap. But they had a different calculation completely. And everyone misses the whole point. The belief in a dead Messiah, an innocent person, whether it's a Messiah, whether it's a baby, whether it's a virgin, all this is avodah zarah, all this is idolatry, and people get caught up. It's an egg, and there's the rabbits and eggs, and this is pagan. The Christians know it's all pagan chazarah that comes from all the things. But I think people enjoy these picayune issues. The big issue is that the whole concept that the Messiah should rise on the third, there's nothing like that. And if you think if you think I'm strawmanning this, I'm not. the Christian Bible literally will lie through its teeth and claim that the notion Messiah is supposed to die and rise on the third day is in the Hebrew Bible. Openly in 1 Corinthians 15, 3 and 4, says that this is prophesied in the Hebrew Bible. The term is according to the scripture. I assure you, 1 Corinthians 15, there's only one scripture, that's Tanakh. And if you're not convinced by what I'm saying, that that's what 1 Corinthians had in mind, you can go to Luke 24, which no doubt copied it from 1 Corinthians, but improved on it and made it very clear. Look at Luke 24, 44. It says, according to the Torah, the prophets, and Psalms, the Messiah is supposed to die and rise on the third day. I'm not kidding. It says it. And it says it nowhere. It's completely fake and made up. So my friends who are wondering, of course it's all pagan. Of course it's all pagan. But
well, I have to concur because he does bring up the issue of how the Council of Nicaea literally bent over backwards to make sure that the Easter celebration, the Easter day, never fell on or during Passover. That is a very interesting point. Yeah, so there was an anti-Semitic undertone, overtone, whatever, from the very beginning, almost. You know, it's not made up. You know, this is how they viewed the Jewish people. You know, because they blamed them for the crucifixion of Jesus, which I don't understand why that would be a bad thing. Without the crucifixion, you don't have salvation, right? So why wouldn't they be glad that the Jewish people participated in ensuring that salvation could be accomplished?
The key is, don't get caught up, in my view, don't get caught up in the nomenclature, all these little these side issues of, is it egg? Should we have bunnies and not bunnies? Easter, Ishtar, Shmishtar, Flishtar. It's Avodah Zarah, worshiping a man as God. And of course, the Sunday resurrection would also replace the Shabbos. Christians then would assign Sunday to their Sabbath and reject the Saturday as their Sabbath, which is insanity. Who did that? A very, very, very early church father who was a bishop of Antioch, Ignatius. Ignatius, you know how early Ignatius is? Ignatius is very early 2nd century. I mean, this is very early stuff. And he's already coming up with, he coins the word Catholic. This is Ignatius, real proto-Orthodox guy, Roman Catholic. And the Protestants follow everything he says. Even though the Protestants, what does the word Protestant mean? They're protesting. What are they protesting? Roman Catholicism. And I'll tell you, I'm not a fan of Roman Catholicism at all, as you know. I don't have a favorable view of it. But on this point, the Catholic apologists are right. On this point, they're correct. When they tell the Protestants that you guys are all following Roman Catholic traditions, what should the Bible, sola scriptura, what is your scripture? How do you know Matthew, Mark, and Luke and the other 23 books of the New Testament are part of the canon, other books are not? The Roman Catholic Church says so, and you follow. They're right. There is no good answer to it. None. I'm telling you, I'm not a fan of Roman Catholicism. The Pope does not call me for advice. He doesn't. People think he does. He doesn't. It's baloney. So, but the Roman Catholic, they came up with this stuff. They came with all this stuff. That Sunday should replace Shabbos. This is all Roman Catholic stuff. And the Protestants blindly follow it and think, look at us. We're Protestants. We're the original. We're not like those filthy idol-worshipping, Mary-worshipping Roman Catholics. All silly, all nonsense. In this case, the Roman Catholic Church, or its apologists, its defenders, they're absolutely correct. The Protestants all took it from them, and they borrowed it because they took the nice stuff. They plagiarized the nice stuff from the Roman Catholic Church. So it is all idolatry. A person should run from it. A person should not attend an Easter dinner. Now, if you're not Jewish and your whole family will explode if you don't show up to some dinner, I don't want to hear that you're getting divorced over this. Don't do that. Don't pray with them. Don't do any of that stuff. But I don't want to get 5 emails from me asking me, should I get divorced? Because no, don't do that. Anyways, thank you very much for your thoughtful question.
Well, at least he draws the line there. But I mean, yeah, I mean, it's idol worship. Really is. So yes, I finally made it to TikTok. I've made it to the big times. So I've put together a few videos. I don't know how often I'll be able to. I don't know how often I'll be able to post there, but you could find me at BHSP232, or just click in BHSP. It's basically the acronym Biblical History Skeptics Podcast. So yeah, give a follow. That's fine. But here were some of my thoughts. You know, it's amazing to me how many times I have seen pictures of this as a fundamentalist Christian, and it never dawned on me how reprehensible and disgusting this really is. This is disgusting. This does not say love at all. Any deity who would demand this of another for a vicarious atonement, an atonement for sin or salvation, this is not love at all. This is not love. This is the demands of a psychopath, a sociopath who does not value life, does not value people. This is bloodthirst is what this is. And it doesn't surprise me why many Christians are bloodthirsty to the core, why they're okay with so much death and destruction in the world. They're okay with it. They don't want it to happen to them, of course, but this is just terrible. You know, the very same people that would complain about how violent video games and movies and television series, oh, how gory Hollywood is, and they have no problem with this. They have no problem with this story being taught to children on Sunday morning, Easter Sunday. Happy Easter, by the way. They have no problem, no qualms. Doesn't even register that there's something twisted and sick about this. This is what they think love is. This is disturbing, and it should be. And it's disturbing to me how long I went on in Christianity. It never dawned on me once what a terrible idea this is. Any deity that would demand this for redemption, for the forgiveness of sins, does not have your best interests at heart at all. Does not care about you at all. This is gross, and it should be considered as such. Happy Easter. So, just a few thoughts I had. Oh, here's another one. The United States is not a Christian nation. It is a nation that has been hijacked by Christian terrorists. Oof, ouch. As a former Christian, I cannot agree more with this sentiment. I really can't. It's amazing. What we've seen in the last 10, 15 years is exactly this. Our country is indeed hijacked. We've seen women lose their body autonomy. We've seen the LGBTQ plus community just completely lambasted. We've seen them victimized. We've seen them traumatized, really, is the word that comes to mind. It's quite sad to see. Well, yeah, so anyway, we got that off the ground. So, whoops, let's go ahead and stop sharing. Yeah, I don't know. StreamYards is not working for me today. So, hey, what's going on, 420? Good to see you all. Good to see you. It's been a while. Thank you for coming. Yeah, you just happen to tune in at the right moment when everything is going wrong with this stream. Oh man, I just you name it, and it has gone wrong today. Before I couldn't even get anything to load. Internet was not working. How's the family, Sammy? Family, Sammy. Yeah, I heard. Well, I mean, you did share a few things as far as struggles your family was going through. So yeah, give us an update if you feel comfortable. Keep us in the loop. Don't be a stranger. But yeah, we finally made it to TikTok. Yeah, took long enough, didn't it? So I put a link in the comments. So if you scroll up, it should take you right there. Let's see. There we go. TikTok, and then there's the there's a link. Should be okay. So anyway, that's all I have time for to do today. It's just, it took so long uploading everything. You know, I couldn't even get basic internet pages to fire up. So I need a better internet connection. There's no question about it. No question. All right, with that out of the way, I will. Oh, I am sorry to hear that. That is heavy. And I believe that was your toddler that was struggling, was fighting cancer. Seems like a lifetime ago. Man. How old was she, if you don't mind me asking? Yeah, I can't imagine losing a child. I really can't. Oh, okay. Almost 3 years. Yeah, it kind of brings it home, because I've been meaning to talk about what's been happening in Israel with the Palestinians and the children that are just being starved to death. It's just horrific. Yeah, that death of your daughter kind of brought that in remembrance. Well, my thoughts are with you. Give your best. Give my best to your wife. They're starting to develop vaccines against certain cancers, and they can't hurry fast enough. Ugh. Especially cancers that hit children. But yeah, they're developing a genetic lung cancer. So there are certain lung cancers that you get hit with. There are actually more cases of lung cancer that are caused genetically than that are caused by smoking, as hard as that is to believe. But yeah, they're starting to develop vaccines using the Human Genome Project that got started way back in the early 90s. And it's like, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. This is why it's important that we elect governments that they understand the importance of science, because a lot of this stuff doesn't happen unless it's government funded. You'd be surprised how much big pharma has been subsidized by the, our country's governments, whether it be in Australia, United States, Europe. But wouldn't it be great to prevent these types of cancers from happening to begin with? So hurry, 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 hurry. That's all I can say. I have no words. But anyway, I'm going to cut this live short. Thank you so much for joining us. It's going to be a short show today, and hopefully next week it'll be somewhat better. What I'll do is I'll just reset my modem just to make sure it's nice and fresh. Yeah, some children's bodies are they just can't handle the treatments. I mean, they're hard enough on adults. Can you imagine what they do to children? And the doctors do the best they can. They really do. It's like we're just not at that point where we can do non-invasive cancer treatments. I mean, it's just it wears on the body. But this is why we need to be civically minded, and we need to be involved. We need to be at the polls every time. We need to be at the polls, because the government that gets elected oftentimes affects what happens in the pharmaceutical industry as far as what treatments are available to us peons. If you're rich and famous, now there are limits. I mean, money can only buy you so much, but you'd be surprised how much would be available to you if you're rich and famous. Now, the rich and famous do suffer from these types of illnesses, and sometimes there is just no treatment available. I think of Michael J. Fox and his life. I mean, it's like he's battled half of his life by this time. I keep forgetting the name of his disease. It's not Parkinson's. It's I keep forgetting, but it attacks the nervous system that controls the muscles, and he just, he's really struggling, even with the most up-to-date treatments available. It's, for a while he was doing good, but it's just been pretty hard on him. So you see him now, and he's just like, he's just barely able to hold it together. It's sad. Well, it was Parkinson's. Okay. Thank you for that. Well, basically it's a biblical history skeptics podcast where we critique the Bible. We critique religious dogma, mostly Christianity. Sometimes we critique other religions, but Christianity is our main focus because that's my background. And that's what we do. And we do other stuff. I'll play music if I'm able to. Like I shared in the earlier part of the video, I shared parts of my TikTok. I wanted to share this Bible scholar who is probably one of the most honest Bible scholars I have seen to date. You know what? I'm going to share this real quick. This guy here, Dan McClellan, I listened to his podcast. What is the name of it? Dogma. Let me find that out real quick. See if I can get to it. Boy, I had a bunch. Man, I've got tons of shows that just dropped. Yeah, but I do Apple Podcasts. Okay, Data over Dogma. That's his podcast. I listen to just about every week. He does a weekly show with him. He does a show where he partners with an atheist and they critique Christianity. And for the most part, from what I'm seeing, he's honest. I won't say he's correct about everything. But he is scholarly minded. He understands the value of scholarship, not just dogma because I was raised with it, you know. But yeah, so yeah, this is what we do here on the channel. I also share a Rabbi Tovia Singer who critiques Christianity, who literally debates with Christians. So we do that as well. So yeah, hopefully by next week, next Sunday, we do this show every Sunday. And I'm hoping that it will not be a complete shit show like it was today. I mean, today I am hours late. I should have been started around 6:30, 7 o'clock. And nothing worked for me on my computer. So it was just pretty bad. Anyway, I am going to go ahead and end with that. Let's see if I can add a video. Desktop. Come on now. Yeah, everything's just not working. That's modern day debate is going down. Oof. You know, the show I loved back in the day was the Non Sequitur show. I lived for that show. I still miss it to this day. Modern day debate, yeah, it got old, especially when they were dealing with flat earth creationism. I couldn't handle it anymore. But anyway, hope to see you all next week. Take care.